I think we may end up doing this whole Joseph Murphy chapter on the wealth within, from the power of your subconscious mind. What was it actually called? Hold on. Unlike the last chapter, which I haven't really been saying the chapter name that much. It's how to use the power of your subconscious for wealth is the name of the chapter in the power of your subconscious mind. We've read about half of it. I guess we might read the rest. Probably. We'll see. A couple announcements, though, before we do that, before we continue on reading it. First of all, just another reminder. My short guides, 5-Minute Finances and Mindful Manifestation, are both still free on Kindle today. If you look in the description below, you will see links to the Kindle versions of those books. They're both helpful and good supplemental information for what we are discussing today and what we're always discussing. And secondly, we are going to continue with these videos focusing on inner supply and bringing out the inner supply that's a natural quality to us. I'm going to read more Murphy in all likelihood. But tomorrow I'm planning on putting up an interview I just did with a woman named Melissa Basie, who's actually a psychologist based out of Calgary in Canada, who utilizes Neville's work and Neville's approach with clients, which I thought was really interesting. So she reached out to me and I had her on, I did a Zoom call with her yesterday and we had an interesting conversation. So there's a lot of very interesting tidbits that she shared with me, and I'll probably post that video of that discussion tomorrow in all likelihood. So let's dive back into it, what we've been talking about. Yesterday I was talking about how, so often we do something, we do affirmations, like Murphy was saying, and then 10 minutes later we contradict ourselves with our behavior, with our thought patterns. Or an hour later, we can contradict ourselves. And so really, even though we're trying to, infuse ourselves with positive psychology towards money or towards whatever, towards health, towards friendships, towards love, whatever it may be, to quote Murphy, you did not get the results because you indulged in fear thoughts perhaps 10 minutes later and neutralized the good you had affirmed. When you place a seed in the ground, you do not dig it up. You let it take root and grow. So, what we're trying to do, again, is not just do a technique for a short period of time each day. What we're trying to do is change our entire train of thought so it becomes more positive about these subjects that currently bother us, If we feel lackful about money, just affirming that we're getting wealthier absolutely can work if we then feel more relaxed about money the rest of the day. But what often happens is we try too hard and we contradict what we affirm or what we visualize or what we journal about or whatever it may be. We quickly contradict what we want. So it's slow to come to us, if it comes to us at all. And money is one of those scenarios for so many people so often, where we try to be more positive about money. We do, these various LOA, law of assumption techniques to try to, imbue our subconscious with a better outlook towards money and our finances. But we so often fail in seeing fast or significant external results, even after, months and months or years and years of trying, because the truth of the matter is our subconscious, our imagination, they're essentially synonymous, as Coué says most of the time at least. Our subconscious and imagination is still imbued with fearful, lackful thoughts about money. If we're honest with ourselves and we look, we go, oh, wow, I still have all these negative beliefs about money coming to me. How money is going to show up in my life, how supply is going to show up in my life. It's sneaky. And that's, again, why I always say that a simple technique, just doing that technique to magically manifest, supply for the rest of your life is very unlikely to happen. Joel Goldsmith, who we've been discussing a lot, who's obviously a very mature teacher when it comes to teaching about inner supply, he says this is not, if you want to really delve deeply into this stuff, especially like inner wealth work, it's not easy work, I think it's relatively easy, read my guide, 5-Minute Finances, listen to some of this advice. It's relatively easy to reduce the amount of negative feelings and thoughts we have about money down from like a very high percentage, because so many people have probably 80-90% of their thoughts pertaining to money are negative. It's relatively easy to get that percentage down, probably closer to, 70, 60, maybe even 50%. Where you're thinking a lot less negatively about money. But the truth of the matter is most of us are still going to have a lot of negative thoughts about money. If you want to get that percentage down to like 20 or 10%, it's going to take a considerable inner work. And that's what Goldsmith's talking about. That's also what some of these, modern, really, really good wealth coaches like, two I've mentioned, Genevieve Rackham and Amanda Frances, what they always talk about. It's going to take consistent inner work. It's not a one-time thing. It's not a technique. It's a way of life, really, to bring that supply and express that supply that you have within you. And so with all that said, that's a good segue to today's section from this chapter, which Murphy titles True Source of Wealth. And he writes, your subconscious mind is never short of ideas. There are within it an infinite number of ideas ready to flow into your conscious mind and appear as cash in your pocketbook in countless ways. This process will continue to go on in your mind regardless of whether the stock market goes up or down or whether the pound sterling or dollar drops in value. Your wealth is never truly dependent on bonds, stocks, or money in the bank. These are really only symbols, necessary and useful, of course, but only symbols. The point I wish to emphasize is that if you convince your subconscious mind that wealth is yours and that it is always circulating in your life, you will always and inevitably have it regardless of the form it takes. This is what we've been talking about in this whole series of videos about inner supply and wealth. This is what Murphy's talking about. This is what Joel Goldsmith's talking about. This is what Raymond Charles Barker's talking about. This is what all these other great money teachers are talking about. Let me repeat the last paragraph. The point I wish to emphasize is that if you convince your subconscious mind that wealth is yours and that it is always circulating in your life, you will always and inevitably have it, regardless of the form it takes. That's really profound advice, needless to say. And I think you get it. I think that's pretty darn clear. Murphy goes on to write, we'll do one more small section here. The next section is called Trying to Make Ends Meet and the Real Cause. And Murphy says, there are people who claim that they are always trying to make ends meet. They seem to have a great struggle to meet their obligations. Have you listened to their conversation? In many instances, their conversation runs along this vein. They are constantly condemning those who have succeeded in life and who have raised their heads above the crowd. Perhaps they are saying, oh, that fellow has a racket. He is ruthless. He is a crook. This is why they lack. They are condemning the thing they desire and want. The reason they speak critically of their more prosperous associates is because they are envious and covetous of the other's prosperity. The quickest way to cause wealth to take wings and fly away is to criticize and condemn others who have more wealth than you. And, this section is, he points out something rather obvious, but it's something we have to remind ourselves of, okay? We should not be envious of other people's wealth, and we so often are. That does not mean we can't be, more detached critically and criticize how some people have wealth and others do not. You can make a huge argument about having more, economic equality in the world than currently is. And there are plenty of rich people, who probably morally you don't want to, you do not want to be anything like. But that has nothing to do with money. Money in and of itself is a neutral quality. It's a symbol of supply we want to bring out. And we don't want to associate money with, these ideas of like rackets and this ruthless capitalism and basically, as Murphy said, condemning the thing that we desire if we truly want to express more supply. You just don't want to do that. It doesn't mean we can't, try to be more socially equitable in the same way that Jesus was always about trying to be socially equitable. Jesus was basically a socialist, right? But this, as Murphy said, the reason they speak critically of their more prosperous associates is because they're envious and covetous of others' prosperity. There's no need for that. that is not what you want. You are then really, you're in a way, you're criticizing supply. You're criticizing money. You're not being friendly to money. You're not loving money. And as we've talked about, we want to love money in order to flow more easily in and out of our lives and circulate more easily in and out of our lives. All right. So that section, I think most people watching this understand that, but it's obviously worth being reminded of it. And let me, again, just read that last paragraph from the previous section one more time because it's so important. It sums up pretty much everything we've been talking about. I wish to emphasize that if you convince your subconscious mind that wealth is yours, or if you convince your imagination that wealth is yours, and that it's always circulating in your life, you will always and inevitably have it regardless of the form it takes. This is profound advice about supply and inner abundance. So I hope you enjoy the next video with my discussion with that Neville psychologist, and we will meet again soon.